Hold my hand inside your hands.
So, we now understand what marriage is and that union between a man and a woman. What is adultery? What is fornication? Adultery means cheating. To adulterate the milk means to add another chemical to it, such as water, to change its nature. It's not proper milk now, so this is adulterating milk. To the cheating of a husband on his wife, or the cheating of a wife on a husband, this is adultery. And it doesn't have to be physical, that they have an intercourse with a third person. No, it is also mental, because Christ said, if you look at a woman, obviously not yours, because when you looked at the one you want to marry, you desired her. This is a good appetite, because you desired the full commitment, the pleasure and the goal together united. So this would have been good. So when you desire a woman for marriage, this is a good desire. It's not lust. Lust is the desire of pleasure alone, when she's not your woman and you don't intend to have her as your woman, and that is adultery. Although no physical contact has occurred. The same for a woman with another man. So adultery is the real cheating of the vow and the covenant of love that both have confirmed and declared willingly to the church and to God and to themselves. This is adultery. Fornication is sexual relations without being married together, like the cohabiting. But I said now that the cohabiting, and also in the past in the Roman Empire, the church used to see the fact that if a man and a woman live together as husband and wife, in our eyes as a church, they are married. This situation has a difficult dilemma here with us in the West now, in the Coptic church, and I hope we have to review the situation. Somebody, say, who has a girlfriend and he lives with her for a few years even, and then he dislikes her, so he goes to the church, to the priest, and say, Abuna, I now want to marry this other girl. And what about the first one? Oh no, sorry, this was an adulterous relationship. It was a fornication. I repent from that. I forget her. Now let me marry this girl that I'm bringing with me. Another one. It happens. And the church makes him marry that new girl. To my understanding, in the Greek and the Russian church, they don't allow that, because they consider this second relationship would be the adultery. And he is committing an offense against the first one. And the right thing here is to bring his first girlfriend, and the church declares and gives them the blessing of the sacrament of matrimony, and they become one body, blessed by God, having received the sacrament. So they started the union first of the commitment and the will and the physical commitment. Now the church adds the blessing and the absolution and asks God to pour into them the blessing of this sacrament of love, or sacrament of marriage. That would be the right way of doing it. I think this situation ought to be reviewed so we don't get matters confused. There is another meaning for adultery. I'll give you two scenarios and I'll ask you to work out which one where the wife would ask for divorce. First scenario is a man and wife. He leaves her to go and work abroad, say for a year or so. There he's tempted by another woman. He has a relationship with her. He feels very sorry. He comes back to his wife. He confesses his sin to her. He repents. He says, I'm sorry. And the wife is very upset, of course, about what happened. Leave this couple now and come to the other couple. A man and a wife, he will not travel anywhere, she will not travel anywhere, but he continually disrespects her, swears at her, insults her, beats her, ill-treats her, and she's living in hell. Obviously, this is not a Christian person. This is a Christian by name, maybe. And then the woman is very upset. Which of these two women do you think should be allowed to divorce that husband of the two husbands and giving herself to marriage with another person? I believe that the second story, that one who's ill-treating his wife, is more adulterous than the first one, although he did not meet a third party. But he actually chopped off the relationship. He cut his wife off him. He has divorced her spiritually, psychologically, and physically as well, although the other one committed adultery and came and repented. Which one do you think would be forgiven more? the one who repented his sin or the one who's still living in the sin of hatred and ill treatment of his wife. Now, this is a debate that's taking place in our Coptic Orthodox Church. When should we allow divorce? And at present, we are debating whether we should keep adultery and other conditions which could very well lead to adultery as being part of the definition of adultery. Or is it adultery only, physical adultery? To make it a bit easier, they added again, let's accept things like letters and telephone codes and telephone numbers, which would suggest a relationship with another man. We would accept this as adultery. But what about if it is absolute hatred and absolute life which cannot be lived by that woman? And people have been for years trying to sort out things and it doesn't work. Should we allow her to be divorced or not? Should we consider this as adultery or not? I'm only opening the question. I don't have clear answers. The other question is, when we separate two because one is a sinner and one is a victim, we will give a permission for the victim to remarry. Fine. What about that sinner? Can he repent and God forgives him? The answer is yes by all our bishops. But would the church allow him to remarry? The answer is no. In other words, we're saying, in a sense, God will forgive you, but we will not. If all sins are forgiven, then I can't leave a chap in his 20s or 30s telling him you either remain a celibate by order and by force and by obligation, or leave Christ. This is a dilemma. I have no answer to it. When I said to somebody, why don't we allow him to remarry for the second time? He said, well, if you do this, it will become just free for all. Everybody will do wrong and they know that they will divorce unnecessarily and they will remarry. Or they will commit adultery and they will remarry. Fine, let's give him just this one chance, because I tell you what will happen. He will almost certainly not get the third chance, because there will be no woman who would like to marry a man who broke his first vow and broke the second vow and he's still committing adultery. I think you need to have a woman completely deprived of her mind and intellect to marry such a man. So nature and society will condemn him if the second chance is taken away from him. I believe this is a debate to be taken. I have no obvious advice here because I'm just a member of the church. I'm not the totality of the church, and the totality of the church is taking this matter into debate, and I hope we will reach some understanding in the near future, because we have the figures written in our Egyptian newspapers is between 50, 80 or 100,000 persons or maybe families who are in that sort of situation, unable to marry, unable to divorce. The situation needs a solution, and we beg the church leaders to have a solution that can understand the predicament of the sinner as well as the victim, as Christ would do.